Hi, it is Stacy. This is Loving My Veteran. We are walking in my shoes this morning. Happy Tuesday. Today is Giving Tuesday. It's kind of a small grassroots movement that started a few years ago. And it's where you have an opportunity to give to organizations that have made a difference in your life. So it's out there, it's on our stuff. If you want to give to Loving My Veteran, you can text I Love My Vet to 53555. So it's already on the thing, so don't forget that. We're going to talk about when the civilian world and the military world collide. It's important that we understand that concept. We need to know what it is like when those worlds collide. You know, they're never unprogrammed from the military, and we're not programmed to be in the military. So the ways of thinking are very different, and the worlds can truly collide. And we have to find a way to get over that and past that. And how do we integrate into a healthier, happier relationship? How do we do that? They don't give us a manual. They don't unprogram them. They don't program us. So it's very difficult sometimes to get into that mindset of that world. And so today we're going to talk about that objective mission and how it really does change when we don't think about the fact that they're mission driven with objectives. We don't think about that when we communicate. And so now the worlds are colliding. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and it was interesting. She goes, how did you get from where you were to where you are? And I had to think about it. You know, we were talking about it this morning, Carl and we were talking about it this morning, and we said the concepts are simple. Doing them is hard. And one of the things that we struggled with was the emotion side. And by the way, we're going to talk about fighting fair tonight on boot camp, but it was the emotional side. I am emotional. Like, I want to come in and somebody makes me mad. I want to talk to him about it or get all uptight about getting angry over something. Good morning, Jen. And I wanted to be all uptight over being angry over something. And I would just come in and dump it in his lap. Well, that's the civilian side. You know, let's just go in and vent, and people know that it's venting and you're just blowing off steam. Morning, Diane. And they just want you to be able, we just want to blow off steam, right? And that's what we want to do. And that's the civilian side of that. The military side of that is mission and objective. So you come in and you're mad because something's gone wrong at work or whatever's happened, and you're venting about it. They believe that there needs to be an objective. What is my purpose? Now that you've vented about this, am I supposed to go eliminate the problem? Right? Am I supposed to make this go away? And so they don't understand our emotion, and they don't realize that we're venting, and they don't realize that sometimes we just need somebody to listen. So they think there needs to be an action. Because in the military world, there's always an action and a reaction. If something happens, we're going to do something in response. Sometimes we don't need something in response. Sometimes us, the civilian side, don't need that. What we need is somebody to listen. Right? And like Dan said, they go into fix-it mode. They're going to eliminate the problem. The way we overcame that, and this is really important when you're starting to have these conversations with your veteran, we need to be able to vent. We need to be able to include them in our world without them wanting to get up and go eliminate the problem. We need that to happen. The way we do it is give them the mission and the objective before you ever start. I have something I need to talk about. I just want to vent, and I don't need you to do anything about it. I have something I need to get off my chest. Something happened. I just want to talk. I need to let this out. But I don't need you to fix it or do anything about it. I just need you to listen. Now look at that little bit of changing of how we approached it. Good morning, Liz. And how we approached that. Look at that little bit of framing difference. And what did you do? You took what we want in the civilian world, somebody to listen to us vent, and you put it in a context that the military world understands. Objective, mission. So now they're sitting here, they're going to listen. They may tell you to suck it up, but they're going to listen, and there's not going to be consequences, and you're not going to be able to, I don't know how to handle this. I don't know how to do it. I'm not asking you to handle it. I'm not asking you to deal with it. I'm not asking you to make me not cry. I'm not asking you for any of that. I'm asking you to listen. And when you do that, you have framed it in such a way that the two worlds now start to mesh. We're still being able to have the civilian mindset and the military mindset and combining them into one. And when we start to think that way, how can we help transition into that? What can we do to make that transition easier? Because it is a transition. You're not changing what they are programmed to do. You are changing the way you speak to still get what we need. And life becomes easier. Our objectives and our goals are being met. Because even venting is an objective or a goal. How many times do you call your girlfriends and say, hey, I just got to freaking vent and get this off my chest? Right? You'll never believe what happened. We don't necessarily want an action. We want to vent. We want to talk about it. And in order to develop that closeness in your relationship, you have to be able to vent. You have to be able to share your feelings. We talk about things that are insurmountable, and they're like, well, they're never going to understand feelings. And I really want to throw the BS flag on that. They're never going to understand feelings. No, they're uncomfortable with them. They're uncomfortable with them. And again, we were talking about this morning because we have great conversations before I do this because I always get like his input into this. But so I remember when I went to medic school and like they did all the drugs in 2 chapters. Okay, so there's like all these drugs and you got to know how they're done and how they're drawn up and what kind of vials they come in and all of this nonsense and how to dose them. And we had 2 chapters to get them all right. That was overwhelming to me. I was like, wait a minute, whoa. I don't even know how to do this stuff. I don't know the difference between some of this stuff. What do you mean I'm going to learn it in 2 chapters? It was overwhelming to me. And so in the beginning, I became uncomfortable. And I said, y'all, I'm going to fail this. Every one of us said, I'm going to fail this. Well, after we did 2 or 3, it got easier. And it wasn't so overwhelming anymore. And it was something that we could handle. And I think about it from the military mindset. You know, we've all seen the videos of basic training. Don't know how real they are, but we've all seen the videos. And there's that really straight up wall they climb with the rope thing. Can you imagine being some little 18 and 19-year-old kid standing there at the bottom of that thing looking straight up and be like, I am never going to get the hell to the top of this. Right? It was overwhelming. It was something that was overwhelming. And how are you going to do it? Well, as they started to do it, it got easier and easier and easier. Why? Because they did it. So the same thing happens when it comes to us and letting the veteran, as they say, doesn't understand emotion. When you need to show emotion and you need that hug or you need that moment to cry, or you need that moment to vent, if you frame it in a term they understand, I just need you to listen. I just need you to give me a hug right now. I just need you to do that. Over time, that emotion that's coming out of you becomes less and less overwhelming to them, and they start to relate to it. They start to understand it. It's not like that big ass wall you had to climb. How many of us were mothers for the first time? You know, and here they bring you that cute little baby, and then all of a sudden you're thinking, oh shit, what am I going to do with diapers and bottles, and how am I going to know? It was overwhelming, you know. You got all this stuff, and all these people are telling you stuff, and then the nurse comes in and says, well, you got to make sure you do this, and you got to make sure you do that. You know, and you go through all that. Well, in a few days, you're home, and in a few days, you got the hang of it. Right? You know how to change the diaper. You know how to give them the bottle. You know how to breastfeed, whatever it is you're doing. You know how to do all that. It's not overwhelming anymore. Why? Because it was put into your world, and you learned to adjust. And it didn't come overnight. You were scared. You didn't know what it was going to be like. Same thing happens. It's just the unknown. Something that is uncomfortable. Just think about it in the mindset of the way they were programmed, and start to utilize. You're not manipulating the situation, but you're utilizing the skill set they have, and you're plugging into it in the correct way. I just need you to listen. I don't need you to fix it. You've now dealt with the objective. You've dealt with the mission. And guess what? You can move on. But when you say, I just need you to listen, and you're done, don't keep bringing that back up, especially not in the beginning. Don't bring it back up. And you're right, it's kind of like an exposure therapy. The more you do it, the less you're afraid of it. The more you do it, the more comfortable it becomes. I'm not going to say that every veteran can read every emotion all the time, because it doesn't happen. I can't read every emotion all the time. But what I'm saying is that where emotions are something that they really shut down with, it's easier. You know, we look at the fact of them being fixers, right? And y'all are going to get this, and you're probably going to laugh at part of this because you've probably seen it happen. Right? So the neighbor's dog is barking, and most of us would be like, ignore the dog, or go tell the neighbor, or do whatever. Y'all, they want to go eliminate the problem. Right? They're like, I'm going to take care of that right now, right? I mean, that, you can hear it. When the guy cuts them off, they get, you have endangered me and the kids, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And they've got this road rage coming on about him, unless you've ever driven me. And I have way more road rage than he has. But I'm going to do, and like they almost drive, and I've heard spouses say this, they drive more erratically trying to get up to the guy so they can flip him off than if they just let it go. Right?
It's more fun that way.
And not endanger all of us in the vehicle. But their mindset becomes, if there's a problem, we eliminate it. We fix it. This guy did something, we're going to eliminate it. We're going to go tell them how we feel. And so you see it come into our daily lives. It's there. But when you start to understand that that world is one and our world is here, and they can coexist. They can coexist. You know, the road rage thing is simple. And people are like, what do you mean it's simple? It is. When somebody does it and your veteran's like, F you, and they're screaming, you can go, you know what? F them. And now you're acknowledging their feelings, but it doesn't mean you have to go 90 miles an hour. and it does help. I will tell him now, back off. He's usually telling me, I have way worse road rage than he does, though. Way worse. But mine came from being a paramedic and going to a call, and I'm like, yeah, get out of my way, asshole. Okay?
You haven't mastered the art of memorizing license plates.
I don't know that. Yeah, so it's one of those things. And I like where Diane said it took time for him to understand emotions. This didn't happen overnight.
No.
And he could have really shut down when and got overwhelmed, but they were able to communicate. And she was the one who was uptight. And he does that with me now. I'll be uptight and he's like, calm down. Let's just breathe for a minute. But it didn't happen overnight. The concepts, and again we say this, y'all, the concepts to this in having a healthier, happier relationship, the concepts are simple. There's no rocket science to it. It becomes putting them into practice. It becomes doing them consistently. It becomes fine tuning them to what works for you and your veteran and the way you communicate and your communication skills and getting out of your own way. Because I'm telling you, when I first started this, I was like, this is never going to work. How many people have come back in and said, you don't understand my veteran, this is never going to work? How many people say, look, she talks, I wish it was that easy. It's not easy. There is no easy button in this. There's no easy button. But nothing in life worth having is easy. Our veterans, when they went in the military, basic training was not designed to be easy. Some of them liked it, but it wasn't designed to be easy. It was designed to be tough. It was designed to give them the mental mentality of toughness, and that it doesn't matter if they served 4 years or 40 years. You never get that warfighter out of them. You never get that pride out of them. You never get that out of them. They worked hard for it and they deserved it. And it was their objective and it was their mission and they got it. And every single day, if I don't work hard and practice is a good one, and practice and do what I know needs to be done, we go backwards. Now we jump right back to forward, but we go backwards. We go back. But that's just the way life is. It's a lot of practice. It's a lot of work. And it does become easier and way more rewarding. I remember the very first time we saw Diane and her husband doing a boot camp. Y'all, he was hidden out the camera. I didn't even know he existed, right? He was like, well, out there. You never saw it. You never saw his little face pop in. And then, by the time we got to the second or third, you'd see him kind of lean over. They took the skills that they learned and they started to apply them. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day, because I'm telling you, I still feel like, what the heck? It's not easy. We still struggle, whatever. But you wake up one day and you look back and you say, look how far I've come. Look how far we've come. And it is important that we learn to look at things that are manageable and tangible. Tangible is important to us. People have to know they've accomplished and finished their objectives. They have to know that it's measurable. And measurable for me in day one was not to fight at all. Right? It was, could I walk away for 5 minutes? Could I consistently walk away for 5 minutes? And when I did it over and over and over again, there was no longer the beating at the door. He was standing outside of it. And before long, he was sitting on the couch. because he knew in 5 minutes I'd be back. That became a measurable. It was there. It was tangible.
Yeah, but that was once I trusted that you weren't going to go anywhere.
And it is. It's about trust that I wasn't leaving, and it was about trust about a lot of things, and it was about the fact that if I said I need 5 minutes, I was going to be there in 5 minutes. 4 minutes and 50 seconds is always better. Okay. But it wasn't. You have to look at that measurability. You have to look at, this is where I was. This is where we've gotten to. We haven't broken dishes, and I was the dish breaker, not him. Right? I still have a whole service for 12. It's exciting. Right? Well, we have a service for 12 with one plate that does not match the other, and that's because Stacy threw them all. Kathy Mine did it. If I said I needed 5 minutes, he was yelling. He followed me to the bedroom. He followed me to the office. He beat on the door. And I said 5 minutes. And I shut the door. And I didn't respond. And it was hard because he's yelling and I wanted to yell back. I did, I think, the first time or two I was in there say, I told you 5 minutes. And that was all that was said. And then I walked back out. And the fight ensued right where it picked up. It went right back to where it was. It went right back to where it was. It was like a pause button there for a minute. But the thing was, is it didn't escalate anymore. It may have stayed at that level, but it could have gotten worse. And I did it again. And was still the same thing. Fine. Just get up and walk out. That it. I mean, you don't listen to anything I have to say anyway. Just get up and walk out. That's fine. And I did it anyway. And I did it over and over again. Over and over and over again. And now when I look at him and say, I need space, he's like, okay. I will literally tell him, get out of my bubble. And he's okay with that. And I'm okay when he tells me I need space. We're okay with that now. But that wasn't that day one. And we have to remember that being consistent in climbing through what seems insurmountable will only get you to the top. It will only make it easier. Think of it as your own form of basic training. When we talk about these worlds colliding, we've got to be able to understand their core programming that they're not going to unprogram. Their brain formed around their action pattern, their belief pattern in how they respond to things by the time they were 25, because that's when it happens, between 18 and 25, when they're being torn down and rebuilt and being torn down and rebuilt and being programmed to be that way. They're programmed to be that way. And you have to find that way to be able to put our world into their programming. Y'all remember the days when the Mac did not talk to like the IBM type computers, right? And now there's a program where you can do it on either one. But back in the day, they didn't talk to each other. They were speaking totally different languages. But over time, the two integrated to be able to plug into their worlds. It's the same concept. In the beginning, nobody thought it was possible. You either had to do all your crap on a Mac or all your crap on the IBM. And I remember that when I did graphic design. Mac was way easier to design on, but our print stuff came out of IBM. And you're like, how the hell? And those worlds didn't speak, and it took hours to move them over. Now we don't have to do it in hours. You're plugging into the right systems. You already know the language with how their mindset works. Just plug your information in the right way. And it takes time. And we're gonna not get it right, but it's not failure, it's feedback. But you cannot get feedback off of one try. Think about the wall they climbed. If the very first time they couldn't get all the way up it, they were like, I'm done, I'm out, we're never going to do that. That's not good feedback. You have to try it over and over and make the little adjustments, but you still got to get to the top of that wall. And we have to try and sometimes make little adjustments for what worked and what didn't. And I'm going to tell you now, what works today may not work tomorrow. It'll be all right, though. Just keep doing it. Just keep at it. And the world will mesh, and there won't be this collision all the time. You have to stay consistent. Yes, it's going to mean that they're going to get in your face maybe and yell. Yes, it means they're going to follow you around and yell. But if they're already yelling and they're already in this mood, what difference does it make if they follow you around if you can eventually stop that from happening? Or you can lessen the times that it happens? You just have to set your goal and do it. And your goal needs to be a small step. Your goal may be, and this was the one that we talked about what triggers were. When you yell, I didn't try anything else. When you yell, you trigger me. I'm like, oh, the fudge, and we in a bad situation. And the only goal I could work on was no matter how bad we got, was not to yell. Now, did I yell? Yes. Do I still yell from time to time? Yes. I still yell from time to time. Did it work initially? No. What happened was once I started to achieve that goal on a more consistent basis, we could add the next one. And that was learning to walk out of the situation. Not walk away from him, walk out of the situation. Separate myself. Why? Because he said when I yelled it triggered him. Why? Because it did. So I'd walk away so I wasn't the trigger. I'd walk away so I could calm me down. I've done that. And that's how I learned to do it. Girl, I'm telling you, there are times I just go up and scream any old where. You have to let it out. You're going to feel like you're going to boil. And especially when yelling becomes something that's second nature to us. I mean, it's just the way we communicate. Whatever that is, if it's yelling or crying or whatever our go-to is, it's hard to learn to change that pattern. It's hard. And it just takes time. With that said, tonight, boot camp is on fighting fair. How to learn to fight fair. We're going to disagree. We're going to argue. But we need to learn to fight fair. So tonight, I'm going to tell you, you got to put them shovels down and not dig up them skeletons. So come to boot camp tonight. The link is very easy. You go to the website. I posted it on the thing. And you scroll down under community. You will see boot camp. Click the link. It'll take you right in. 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It is free like all the programming we do on Loving My Veteran. Just come and join us. And again, don't forget, we can't do this without support from y'all. Doesn't matter how big or little it is. It is Giving Tuesday. If you are so inclined, just text I Love My Vet to 53555. And there's a link on here as well. Join us. I'm going to get off of here. Tomorrow we have coffee immediately, at 10 o'clock, so you can come join us for that too. I'm Stacy. This has been Walking in My Shoes. We're loving my veteran. I love mine today, every day, and always. Have a blessed one. Bye.